Welcome back to Coding Along. This is the part 2 of the responsive landing page with a pop-up. And just before we start, I would like to show the finished work of how it's going to look like when we finish coding. And yeah, so when you click on it, you can see it here. You have your name, username, and email. And if you click it, it goes out because we're not adding validation to it. So another thing I'm going to add in this page is, yeah, you just saw it. It's a exit pop out. So whenever we go to this bar here, which definitely means we want to exit the page, we get a pop out. And this only appears once. It's not going to appear again if I do it. But if I reload the page, that means I just go back to the page and I go there. You see it appears. So this is a really good email marketing thing that a lot of digital marketers use, and I think it's actually a very useful function to have in your email, especially if you really want people to know that, okay, do you want to do this, or you want to send a goodbye message, or it can be used for so many other things. So we're going to also add that into this project. To do that, we will have to go to HTML first to create a div. The div is also going to kind of like create a background, because we want it to be like that when you click it, this part, this whole part becomes a little bit darker, and then the pop-out box appears. So yes, that's how we're going to do it. And we'll start that by creating a div, as I said. We'll call this background or BG background container. Background pop container. Very long class name, but yeah, we'll use that. Background pop container, and inside that we will create another div, because this is the background pop container, and you will understand it when we create it first. But what this is essentially going to be, this is going to be the like shaded background that is going to first appear before the before the pop out appears, which is going to be where you can fill the format, because we don't want the pop out to just appear with this background here having the same brightness as it is right now. So create another, give it another class of pop box. And inside this pop box, we will have our image. This is going to be where the logo is going to show. And we don't need all this. Just remove them or ignore them, but I think I prefer to remove them. Yeah. So the next thing is we're going to set the width of this background image, because it is going to be bigger. It's not set within. I'll set it to, and this depends on the image you're using. If the image is the right size, you won't have to do this. And height of 100. And after the image, we'll have to input, we'll have name and username, or we can have name and email. No, we'll have name, username, and email. Yes, it's going to be a text. Give it a placeholder of name. Second input is going to be a text too. We'll give it a placeholder of username. And the third input is not going to be a text, it's going to be an email. And we'll give it a placeholder of email. Yes, so after this, we'll use the same anchor tag to create a button and give the button a class name of button2. I might make it the same looking button as that, but we'll see as we go along how it looks like. If it doesn't look as good, then I probably would just style it differently. And here we'll say sign up. Yeah, so that's it for the HTML. And I'm sure you're thinking, where is all these things we're creating? Well, that's why CSS is there, because CSS is going to make it appear like magic, or appear like magic. pgpop container, put a dot before it, and set the height to 100, because we want it to take 100. We would set it to 100% because we want it to take 100% of the of where it is in. So yes, and width too, we want it to be 100%. And now we're going to make it show by using background color. I know some people will be thinking maybe we should use opacity, but for this we're going to use RGBA, and the A is for, as Visual Studio Code will show us here, alpha, which is, we can use that too for kind of opacity, because if we used opacity as a whole, it would block it, but we want it to be see-through. So we set this to 0, 0, blue to 0, and the alpha will be 0 points. Let's try 6. Mm, 0.7. Let me just check HTML. Yes. Yeah, 0.7. And display flex. And now the position. Set the position to absolute. So setting the position to absolute. And then where does it start? We make it start at top, 0. And now we can see it. And what do we notice here too? Is that we're seeing this. You can see, okay, let me remove it. See, when we put the 0, we can see the like shadow. So that's how it is. If we used opacity, you wouldn't be able to see this. It would literally cover it up. So that's why we're using RGBA alpha. And we can see the elements here that we just made. So now let's justify the contents inside them. Let's align them. Align items to center. Justify content center. Yes, so now we can see it's in the center. And height. Height of 300. And then let's give it a background color. What background color we're gonna go? We'll give it white. Yeah, so now we can see the background of what we're actually styling. And for sure we're giving this a border radius because those pointy angles are way too sharp. Yes. And you might notice here, why are this rest given border radius? Is because this image is, when we move this image, you'll see automatically the border radius will show. It's because the image is right there right now, so that's why. And then text align. So this text align to center. Now we can see that it's forming quite nice. Everything is still at the center. You can see that now the border radius is showing because we moved everything inside to the center. So now we can give it a padding of 20 pixel. Oh, 200, wow. Took over the whole page. 20 pixel. And the position of relative. So now we have to deal with the individual elements inside our pop box. We'll start with the inputs. We'll give the input a width of 50%. Display of block. And now we can see everything is aligned by using display block. But I think there needs to be a little bit of margin in between them. A margin of 15. PX auto. Yeah, we'll give them a padding too. Padding of 5 px. Yeah, just to make the button a little bit bigger and more visible. So now we have to be able to leave this place. So how does someone cancel if they don't want to fill the form without canceling the page? So we're going to create a X that shows. So when you click on the X, you can actually leave this pop-up box and maybe do something on the landing page, or maybe read more about the sub, or if you want to read what the header says and all that. So we're going to do that by going to our HTML. And now HTML, we will just create on top of this image here a plus, but that plus we're going to rotate it 45 degrees to make it look like an X. So that's the logic we're going to use there. So it's going to just be right here, and make a div, call it closer. And yes, you can see the plus sign. Just another thing, because we're going to use JavaScript and we will need to call this, I will give it a ID name of close. I'll also give the button here learn more an ID of button. Just preparing for the JavaScript part. Yeah, so we can see the plus here. So the next thing we're going to do is style the plus, put it in the right direction, which is at this place here. And then after that, we'll set the functionality with JavaScript. So the closer, set the position, absolute. Now we set right 14px. Set it right to 14px pixels and a font size of 42 to make it real big. And now we rotate it with transform. Rotate 45 dig. And the last but not the least, we put a cursor pointer on it, so when we hover on it, it actually shows this. So now we're done with the HTML and CSS. The next part is the JavaScript, where we just set the functionality of the button and being able to cancel this pop-up. We're going to get element by ID. So set constant pop out button is equals to document dot get element by ID. And remember, we created an ID for the button, which was button. And now we'll add event listeners to the button, so when it's being clicked on, a function will be called, and that function will basically tell it to show our pop box. And also it's going to also make this cancel, this X, be able to the pop box. So that's what we're going to create it with the learn more button, and then be able to also remove it with the cancel button. Pop button dot add event listener, click. And our function name is going to be pop out now. So now let's create the function. The function pop out now. Input E. We're going to make sure, or event, anyone you prefer. I'm using E for now. And we'll use the prevent default. So whenever we click the button, it doesn't refresh the page. To document the query selector, and we're selecting our pop box. Let me just make sure, right, that it's actually pop box. Pop box, yeah, spelled correctly. Dot style dot display goes to flex. So this is us basically saying that we want you to show it, we want you to display it. Does CSS and actually make the display hidden. No, not here, not the pop box, but actually this, the pop background. Okay, it should be modal, shouldn't be pop box. It should be the pop container. I mean DG pop container. Because that's what's, oh my gosh, autocorrect. I said style.display. Be wary of autocorrect. Sometimes they write things that they think you want you to, they think you want to write, but you don't actually want to. Voila. So we see it here, works. Our pop out is up when we click it, but we can't get away from here. It's always here. So let's set a function for that too. I just want to make it really neat and also show functionalities, like adding one function and then adding another function for another part inside the first function. So that's why we're going to create another function basically, and we're just going to use the same way we did the first one. Say constant cancel pop, and so document dot get element by ID. And the ID for this is close. That was the ID name we gave it. And now we just call cancel pop. And we got our event listener. Just the same way we did the other. And click, and the function is going to be cancel pop out. Now we create the function. Function cancel pop out. I could easily copy and paste this, but I'm already in the groove of just writing it, so yeah. Now it's a document that was added query selector. And we basically say we want our BG container. BG pop container. I want it dot style. I want it to be displayed. I want its display to be none. And that's about it. We can say we can get away from it. So the way to add the exit pop out. First we're going to get elements by ID. Yes, we're going to get element by ID. We're going to give it a constant name of. We'll give it a constant name of exit pop out. Exit. Pop up. We're going to give it a constant name of exit pop up. BG underscore container. Make sure you do have an ID on the container which we just created, which is the div that holds our pop-up and also holds the background of how the background should look when the pop-up is activated. So yes, we're done with this part. The next part was we're going to add an event listener to our mouse. I'm also this is gonna be, instead of click here, we're going to have mouse out. Because now we're adding an event listener to the mouse. Not being clicked, but just the direction of the mouse. And now we'll create a function. I'll call it exit page. So this is, yeah, we're done with this part. So the next part is to actually create the function. And so the function exit page. Take an event. After taking an event, we need to set a condition. So this condition is basically going to say when this event dot client, now we are taking the y-axis, y. If the y-axis, the position of the y-axis of the mouse is less than 50, because we know if it's less than 50, that we are in the region of the tab, of the upper tab. So we set document dot remove, and then our function exit page. So now we're going to basically show pop up now, referring to our element that we created by ID. Dot style dot display is equal to flex, and that's about it. Yeah, we can see it's working. We reload and we go back, it works. If we click this, it still works. So yeah, we've done that now, and I hope you learned from it. If you did, give a like. If you have any questions, or if you enjoyed the video, put it down in the comments below. Yeah, so this is the responsive landing page with Popup Part 2. We've completed it. Make sure you try it out yourself because that's the best way to learn. And that's all from me. Bye.